What's going on, everybody? It's DJ Sketch, and welcome back to the channel, and also welcome back to the world of survival horror. Yes, today we're going to take a look at the highly anticipated Resident Evil 2 Remake. I'm playing the Xbox One version today, but it's also available on the PS4 and the PC. And in case you were curious, I'll just go ahead and save you a little bit of time. It's awesome. It's definitely worth the pickup. But let's take a little bit more of a look into why it is. So, of course, unless you're unfamiliar with the series, this is the second entry, which arguably most people will claim is the best Resident Evil entry, myself included. This one, honestly, are my two favorites, and I'm actually getting ready to play through the second scenario now with Leon, so scenario B, as it would have been in the original. But playing through this the first time, it was fantastic. Pretty much like everything from the original, for the most part, is intact. So purists, if you're worried about that, if they're going to be changing too much, rejoice, they did not. But also they added quite a few twists to actually make the game that much more interesting. Also the same vein as when they did the GameCube remake. A lot of things were the same, a lot of things were in similar places, but also they switched it up just enough and also added just enough new stuff to make it a completely new experience, but also add several elements they kind of take it over the top compared to the original. Because after playing the remake compared to Resident Evil 1, the original that came out in 1996, it was like night and day. Honestly, like the first one was my favorite for the longest time, and Resident Evil 2, the original, was my favorite for the longest time. But I can already see Resident Evil 2, the remake, slightly outshining the original just by a little bit. But again, I'll reserve that statement for when I've gone all the way through it. But so far, as a whole, I really enjoy what I've been playing so far, especially seeing the crossovers between Leon and Claire's campaigns. They actually fill in quite a good bit in between the two, because if you play one aside from the other, or only play one, which I would definitely not recommend doing, you're going to miss a lot of the story. So this is definitely one where you're going to actually multiple playthroughs are rewarded, and also you get that much more of the story developed for you, especially playing the second scenarios and the extras, which are unlockable through getting through the game with better times than. Aside from that, a cool thing to check out, the Resident Evil engine that was used in Resident Evil 7, which just came out a couple of years back, is making the Resident Evil 2 remake look very, very good. The lighting effects and also just the way shadow and everything else plays off everything in certain rooms and certain situations, it looks fantastic. Honestly, it's almost like awe-inspiring seeing like exactly how much attention to detail they paid to every little piece of every set of this entire game. Honestly, a lot of it looks really, really good. There's only a few small parts where I saw a little bit of like frame dip, and also a little bit just a little bit of screen tear, pixel tears in general, but subjective, I know. That's honestly, I've only noticed a couple things where things clipped. So honestly, as far as graphically, the game looks sick, but also like just about every game that's in existence at this generation has some kind of graphical glitch to it. So in this instance, also let it slide, because it's really you don't notice it unless you're really looking out for these kind of things. And also, just about every original moment and also like original location is completely intact with the remake, which is something I was very, very happy to see. So also, I was curious when I did my impressions video about this about a month or so ago, would the basketball court be there, like would like the gun shop kendo be there, and yes, they are, along with a couple other like new environments that are also completely original to this version, which again is very, very cool. Like honestly, whoever greenlit this project and whoever got this to the points they got it to, even like going up to the demo, like I applaud them, because this came out so much better than I could have anticipated. Because honestly, I had my reservations about this in the beginning, but actually playing the demo, and also playing the release version, this game is fantastic. And also, like, very, very big high note, the gore effects in this game are off the chain. Like, honestly, the gore effects in this game, and also, like, some of the kills, like, even with the, like, your player death scenes, but also just the kills in general, especially with the later bosses, like, later on in the game, between both campaigns. I'm also playing the third one now, so I'm honestly really looking forward to seeing, like, what's going to be switched up there. But some of the boss kills are incredible. And also even some of like stuff you can actually get mobbed by zombies, and actually even like just depending on like certain situations, also you can get like blown up. Honestly, the effect work here is something that would make Tom Savini proud. I mean, honestly, it's legit. It's very, very legit. And I'm so glad something like this exists now, because there really hasn't been a really solid survival horror game in quite some time now, so I'm glad this exists to fill the void. As I said, everything from the original, for the most part, with the exception of just a couple things, it's all there with a new, fresh coat of paint. And honestly, it looks really good. And also, there's going to be moments that, especially if you're familiar with the original, even the thing that how they spin it now will surprise you. And that's a really cool thing, at least I thought. Also, like, I even thought about it too, like just looking back to the original, literally everything's there, except it's in ways you wouldn't expect. There's really only a couple cons that I could think of, and even these are fairly minor to me. Because honestly, I've heard people complain about these things, but after playing it myself, I didn't really find a lot of these things that were coming up as cumbersome as people made them out to be. So, for the uninitiated, even Resident Evil 2, the original, about maybe a third, maybe a little more than halfway through the game, Mr. X drops in, and he follows you all through the game, at least up to a point. And if he catches you, it kind of sucks, but if you're familiar with the original, you also know you can either dodge him or you can stun him. Same thing applies with this one. Even though there's also a capture footage that I have here, I get uppercutted in so many random spots, especially after like narrowly escaping a cell block full of zombies. I get to the end, right at the gate, all of a sudden, vroom, there's Mr. X. So that's one of those things from the original that does carry over, and also, yes, it is as annoying as it used to be, but also at the same time, you can stun him. At least if you have a few bullets to spare on a headshot, you can at least buy yourself maybe like 10-15 seconds, do what you gotta do. But that is one thing, yeah, parts of that, it's annoying at first, especially if you're like stuck in a particular situation, but honestly, if you have bullets to spare, go for it. And also, item management and backtracking. Again, this is Resident Evil, so these things should kind of become as par for the course. I mean, these are things honestly I would expect in a Resident Evil game. But even still, this way you get like more hit packs. You're going to go from 8 items initially to 16. So it just requires a little bit of just kind of knowing where things are and where you want to go. And also just, again, getting familiar with the map, because even the map system is really not that hard to use. And again, I'm really not even going to bother giving this one a number rating, because honestly this game is fucking awesome. So I would just recommend, especially if you're a survival horror fan, or an action game fan, but also it's a thinking man's action game, if you want to consider it that way, I suppose. But either way, I can't recommend picking this up enough.
Oh shit, yeah. There's no way to avoid that punch. Oh! No, no! Get off. Get off. Get off. Get off. Well, go that way. Please go that way. Thank you. Holy balls, dude.